Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today on the Divine Messages podcast. My name is Karina, and I am a psychic medium out of Calgary, Alberta. I've recently experienced some interesting encounters with people, and unfortunately, not in the greatest way. I then saw a post that inspired me to do this episode because maybe it will help some of you to understand why some people act a certain way towards you. So the post said, "Most people aren't jealous of the things that you have, or even the way that you look. It's always the energy, your aura, your electricity, the vibe that you emit. It shakes them up and awakens dormant frequencies that remind them that they can be better, but they choose not to. You got them shook. Keep going." And when I read that, honestly, it was as if a light bulb went off in my mind. And I mean, deep down, I always knew this, but reading it made it more real. Ever since I was a little girl, I remember walking into a room, and I could always feel eyes on me. And most times it wasn't in a pleasant way. And even when I would go to school, I could feel people looking me up and down. And it wasn't the way that I dressed or the way that I looked. I now realize that they were doing that because of my energy. It's always the energy. Empaths have a really bright light over their heads. But healers and psychic mediums vibrate at an even higher frequency, and that makes the light even brighter around them. There's also this other post that's going around that says, "Signs of a high vibration person. Number 1, animals feel safe in your presence. Number 2, people stare at you in public. Number 3, random strangers love to come and talk to you and tell you their life stories. Number 4, you can feel the energy of a room shift when you walk in. Number 5, you irritate toxic people just by being your true and authentic self." So, for my whole life, I have experienced every single one of those. And again, not the way that I look, just always the energy. Now, as a kid, young adult, and even up until my late 30s, I didn't understand why people would stare at me. It actually made me extremely self-conscious. I mean, I already hated the way that I looked. I felt fat and ugly and not good enough at all. In fact, I opened up my childhood diary 2 days ago for no reason. But interestingly enough, I found that so many of my entries were mostly about how I hated myself. So I'm going to share a short paragraph from it now so that you can understand how badly I was struggling. So the date was May 1st, 1989. I wrote, "I get so depressed about everything in life. I don't even feel like living. I wonder what it's like to be dead. Do you have another life? No one understands me. I hate myself. I didn't want to exist. I felt flawed beyond belief. I felt misunderstood and so empty. And by the way that people treated me, I truly believed that there was something really wrong with me." So now, going back to being stared at, as I got older, the psychic in me could always tell who was being drawn towards me, and I mean that without trying to sound egotistical. But I would feel when someone wanted to be in my energy and liked who I was, and that felt really nice to be seen and appreciated for being me, if that makes sense. But what would shatter me was the energy that I felt when people would cut their eyes at me and hate me without even knowing a thing about me. Many times in my life, I was brought to tears because of that. It hurt so badly. I spent over 40 years with my head down, afraid to be treated poorly again. It seemed that no matter what I did, what I said, or what I wore, either a few people would like me, but the majority despised me. Yeah, not a good feeling at all. But as I started healing my life, and especially after I turned 40, something in me changed. I knew that I couldn't control how people perceived me. All I could do was be me, and unapologetically so. I stopped putting my head down, and I started to embrace who I was. I started to understand that the more that I healed my life, the more that I triggered the ones that weren't willing to do their own work on themselves. The higher vibration that you emit, the more some people will repel from you, and that is something I had to learn and accept. And so back to having some interesting experiences lately. Well, I've been trying really hard over the last little while to raise my vibration and be as happy as I can be. The loss that we have had over the last few months has pushed me to try to live my best life even more. I've tried more avenues for self-care, which has included more walking, writing, and even yoga. I've let go of worrying about our future because, yes, I sure did that a lot. It's hard to be psychic and not worry about your own future. But anyways, I have tried really hard to be open to all possibilities for our lives, and with that comes that higher vibration. And you know what? It feels good. It feels really good to be in that high vibe. And the beauty about it is that it helps to attract blessings into your world. Now, the downside to that is that some people who are in a lower vibration can't handle that. I've noticed a couple of people that are acquaintances that have started to treat me differently because of my higher vibration. One in particular is someone that I know through a program that my son is in. Each week over the last little while, I've seen her, and each time I could feel her eyeing up my energy. And again, as a psychic, I can feel things on such a deep level, so I know I'm not crazy. Energy really does speak louder than words. Anyways, last week we were talking about things that we do for self-care. Well, I had told her that I had recently taken up yoga and started walking more, and that I really like to edit for my podcast. I've never shared that I even had a podcast with her, but the minute that she found out, the entire energy of the room shifted. The look on her face said it all. And for a few minutes, I wanted to shrink up and was mad at myself for sharing something so personal because of the way that she had acted. But then I quickly realized that whatever I had said had triggered something in her that brought out her jealousy, and I wasn't going to allow someone to squash my light. So I sat up in my chair and sent back her negative energy with love and went about my day. Again, the hard part about being psychic is knowing too much. I mean, I read people for a living. I can always feel when someone is projecting their insecurities upon me, and it is always the energy that you are emitting that is causing others to react. And yes, sometimes it can be about the way that you look, the clothes that you wear, or how big of a house you may have. This can play a big part in how some people may treat you. But what I've learned is that the confidence and energy that you exude can make it even worse. So, for example, if I go out of my house in my sweatpants, no makeup on, hair in a bun on the top of my head, haven't even taken a shower that day, I'm not going to hold my head up with as much confidence like I would on a day that I feel very put together. And that day, I might not even have a glowing energy around me as much. Does that make sense? So if I'm all dolled up and confident, I'm putting out a different energy. And I mean, that's just one example. Another is how happy you are. So let's say you had something amazing happen to you and you can't stop smiling. Well, that energy that you are giving off is an extremely high vibration, which is magnetic and amazing. But you can go out in public and that energy is going to rub some people the wrong way if they aren't in a good energy or vibration themselves. And that is where, sadly, you may get treated poorly. There is also that saying, misery loves company, and how true is that? I've seen it too many times where someone is miserable, and they may not even know that they're doing it, but they try to have others join them in their misery. And energetically, like attracts like. Energy does really truly speak so much louder than words, and before you even open your mouth to speak to someone, they are already picking up the energy that you are emitting, and quickly they may make their judgment right then and there about you. The vibe that you give off truly affects everything about you and around you. Another example of this is, imagine you are trying to get a new job and you have all of the qualifications to get hired, but no one is giving you an opportunity. This could be because of the energy that you are giving off and in different ways for different people. So say one person goes in for their interview and they lack confidence. That employer may feel that they wouldn't be an asset to their team and not want to hire them. Now, another person could go in for that exact same job and have full confidence, but that employer may not like that energy either. Sounds like sometimes people just can't win, right? Yes, that is very true. Your energy may not be a match for someone. We aren't always everyone's cup of tea, and that is perfectly okay. We aren't always going to be liked by certain people, and we've got to accept that. And now let's flip the switch. We don't always like everyone either, right? It's just the way that life is and the experiences we go through as human beings. Now let's talk about confidence. Confidence. Such a fine line with confidence. In my experience reading people, what I have learned is that if a person feels good about themselves or their life, if they show that they are confident, Some people who lack confidence will view them as egotistical, and that can trigger what is unhealed in them. We work so hard on self-love, self-worth, and self-confidence. Isn't that what most influencers are posting about these days? But the minute someone exudes a strong level of confidence, that can be mistaken as egotistical. Not many people like to see success in others, and the reason is that it reminds them of what they are lacking. So if you have a strong, confident energy that you are emitting, that energy may disturb someone else's insecurities. But the point here today is that you can't control how other people receive your energy. It isn't your job to make others understand your vibe. The best thing that you can do is be your authentic self and never, ever stop shining bright. If your light triggers someone else's darkness, send them light anyways and continue to be you. So I want to leave you all with this today. People can and will always have strong opinions, but try to never doubt who you are and what you stand for. No one can squash your light and energy unless you let them. The only ones that are doing that are in the dark themselves. So spread that love and light like the little Care Bear that you are and go live your life with your head held high. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today on the Divine Messages podcast, and I will talk to you all next time. If you would like to book a reading with me, I can be reached at www.divinemessages.ca or on Instagram at divinemessages333 or at the Divine Messages podcast. Please bear in mind that the perspectives and opinions represented in this podcast are based solely on the Divine Messages interpretations. We can in no way be held responsible for the actions of our followers.